Flags. We're all familiar with flags on some level. Perhaps you only know a few flags. Or maybe you are like me, someone who has at least a mild interest in flags. But those are national flags. Let's talk about something more local, like state flags. All U.S. states have a unique flag, but a lot of citizens don't even know what their state flag looks like, unless they're one with a pretty iconic flag or one that was recently updated. I mean, everyone can pick out the Texas flag. It's iconic, stylish, pretty Texan, but probably no one could tell you which was the Kentucky's flag. Sorry, Kentucky. My goal with this video is to review the general history of each state flag, as well as going over any symbolism I could find, going in alphabetical order. A few things to note before we start. The adoption date mentioned generally refers to when the most recent version of a flag was adopted. If a flag had a slight design change, I tried to use the date those changes were instituted. The DAR is pretty important to this. The DAR, or the Daughters of the American Revolution, was founded in 1890 and is a non-profit women's organization focused on promoting patriotism, education, and preserving American history. They're involved in quite a few of the flag's histories here. Also, a lot of these flags are kind of the same. I mean, they're not the same flag, but they look very similar. There is a reason for this, but we will get to that later. So let's get to the flags. Adopted in 1895, the Alabama flag consists of a white field and a red saltire. No one really knows what the creators of the Alabama's flag's intentions were while creating it. It's speculated that they chose a red cross to resemble the Confederate battle flag, but since there is not really any records from when the Alabama legislature chose this flag, it's impossible to know for sure. The symbolism of the flag suffers a similar fate with no recorded symbolism. The original flag was meant to be square, but it's almost never been square. Again, a reference to the Confederate battle flag. So in 1897, the Attorney General of Alabama stated that going forward, the flag's official shape would be rectangular. Adopted in 1927, the Alaska flag consists of a dark blue field with a Big Dipper made of yellow stars in the middle and a singular yellow star in the right canton. Thinking that creating a flag for the territory would help it achieve statehood, the governor of the then Territory of Alaska decided to hold a contest for Alaska's flag design. The winner was a 13-year-old Benny Benson, chosen from 142 flag submissions. Alaska didn't end up achieving statehood until 1959, but the flag is still one of Alaska's most recognizable symbols to this day. The blue of the flag represents both the Alaskan sky and the forget-me-not, which is the state flower of Alaska. The constellation featured on the flag is the Big Dipper, which can easily be seen from Alaska, and the Northern Star, which is in the upper right corner of the flag, represents Alaska as the northernmost part of the United States. Adopted in 1917, the Arizona flag consists of a copper star on a blue field, with alternating red and yellow rays coming out from the star on the top half of the flag. The design for the flag originated from a flag for the Arizona National Rifle Team, who created one after they realized they were the only team without a flag to represent them. Colonel Charles W. Harris subsequently created a design very similar to that of the rifle teams for the state of Arizona, which then went on to be adopted by the legislature. The red and yellow on the flag are a reference to the Spanish flag Coronado carried when he first set foot in Arizona in 1540. The copper star in the middle references Arizona's historic copper industry. The blue field on the bottom matches that of the American flag. Together, these elements create a sunset, symbolizing the sunset of the western front. There's also 13 rays coming out of the star for the 13 colonies. Adopted in 1924, the Arkansas flag consists of a red field with a white diamond in the center, a blue band with 25 white stars lining the diamond, and the word Arkansas and 4 blue stars inside the diamond. A contest was held to design the state flag after a request was put in for one, and the Arkansas Secretary of State found there wasn't any. The winning design of 1913 was almost identical to the current version, but instead of the state's name, there were 3 blue stars lined up horizontally in the middle of the diamond. At some point, it was decided the word Arkansas would be added, with the stars moved to 1 on top and 2 on the bottom. During the Civil War, a 4th star was added to the top to represent Arkansas's membership to the Confederacy, but in 1924, they moved it to the bottom, like it is today. The Arkansas flag has a total of 29 stars on it, which is somehow not the most stars on a state flag. surprisingly. The 25 white stars represent Arkansas as the 25th state in the Union, while the 4 blue stars represent the powers that Arkansas has been occupied by, which are Spain, France, the U.S., and the Confederacy. The white diamond, central to the design, is a reference to the fact that Arkansas is the largest diamond-producing state in America. Adopted in 1953, the California flag consists of a white field with a bear and the words California Republic in the center, a red star in the left canton, and a red stripe along the bottom. The original version of the California flag was used in independent movements in the 1840s, having the same basic elements. It was only used for rebellions, however, and once California became a state in the Union, the flag fell out of use. It wasn't until 1911 that the state flag was created, using a lot of the same elements from the rebellion flags. The elements were rearranged, and the current flag is a slightly modified version of the 1911 flag. The iconic bear represents the wildlife of the area, as well as the state of California itself. The red stripe on the bottom represents courage and sacrifice. The singular red star is a reference to Texas's Lone Star, as both states originally wanted to be independent. Similarly, the words California Republic references California's failed dream of being its own country. Adopted in 1964, the Colorado flag consists of 3 horizontal stripes, blue on the top and bottom and white in the middle, with a red C in the center left and a yellow circle inside the C. Prior to the creation of the current flag, Colorado had 2 unrelated official flags. The current flag was designed by Andrew Carlisle Johnson in 1911. It's remained largely unchanged since then, with the only changes coming in the form of legal specifications regarding color, size, proportions, etc. The blue stripes represent Colorado's sky, while the white stripe represents snowy mountains, and the golden circle represents the sun. The gold and white also represent the state's gold and silver mining industries, respectively. The C stands for 3 things: Colorado, Centennial, and the state flower, columbine. When flown vertically, the flag resembles a sun rising over a snowy mountain. Adopted in 1897, the Connecticut flag consists of a blue field with the state's colonial seal placed in the middle. The first version of this flag was flown during the Revolutionary War with a red background, and then again in the Civil War in its current form. It was officially set into law in 1897 and has been unchanged since then. The 3 grapevines represent the early settlements of Connecticut, although it's unclear if that means the 3 original cities or the 3 original colonies that would later merge into Connecticut. The blue field originates from regimental flag standards, in which flags for state military regiments would consist of the state seal over a blue background. Remember this, that's important. The words on the flag translate to he who is transplanted still sustains. Adopted in 1913, the Delaware flag consists of a blue field with a buff diamond in the center, the state seal in the center of that diamond, and the words December 7th, 1787 on the bottom. So, I could not find anything about the history of this flag, just that it was adopted in 1913 and had a lot of colonial roots. Yeah. The field is officially stated to be colonial blue, with the diamond being the color buff. And those were chosen because they were the color of George Washington's uniform. Within the diamond is the state seal, which consists of 2 men standing on either side of a shield. Inside the shield is an ox, bundle of wheat, and an ear of corn. Above the shield is a ship, and below is a banner with the state's motto, Liberty and Independence. The man on the left is a farmer, while the man on the right is part of the militia. The ox, wheat, and corn all represent agriculture, and the ship represents commerce. The date on the bottom of the flag simply represents Delaware's date of statehood, becoming the first state of the U.S. Adopted in 1985, the Florida flag consists of a white field, red saltire, and the state seal in the center. This was Florida's first official flag, created after the Civil War. It initially only had the state seal on a white background, but the saltire was added in 1899. The flag remained the same until 1985, when the seal in the middle was revised for historical accuracy and to be more respectful of the Seminoles that are depicted on there. The white field and the red saltire have no meaning, as far as I can tell. I couldn't find anything about that. The exact reason for the saltire's addition is unclear, but it was either a reference to the Confederacy like Alabama, or just so that the Florida flag didn't look like a flag of surrender. Within the seal is a scene of a Seminole woman spreading flowers with a palmetto tree and a steamboat in the background, and this represents Florida's history. That's all I could find about it, that it represents Florida's history. Around the bottom rim is the phrase, "In God We Trust," which is the state motto of Florida. Adopted in 2004, Georgia's flag includes 2 horizontal red bars on the top and bottom of the flag, a white bar in the middle, a blue left canton, and the seal of Georgia within the canton. Georgia has had many flags since the end of the Civil War. Most of them, disappointingly, include the Confederate symbols. Do better, Georgia. The flag from 1956 to 2001 in particular was literally just the Confederate battle flag with the blue bar on the side and the state seal. It's changed 3 times since then, with the legislature finally setting on the current design in 2004. The main layout of the flag is basically the Confederate stars and bars, and within the canton is the state seal, which depicts an arch of 3 marble pillars for the 3 branches of government, and a man stands under one of the arches defending the Constitution. Around the pillars is a banner listing the state's 3 principles: wisdom, justice, and moderation. Adopted in 1816, the flag of Hawaii consists of 8 horizontal stripes in the order of white, red, and blue, with the Union Jack in the left canton. It was commissioned by King Kamehameha I of the Hawaiian Islands during the War of 1812. He wanted to incorporate American and British elements into the flag, since the islands had been occupied by both nations at that point. The 8 stripes represent Hawaii's 8 main islands. The Union Jack represents Hawaii's historical ties with Britain, while the format of the flag likely references the U.S.'s flag. The colors likely represent the colors that Hawaii had had the most historical contact with at the time, which were Britain, the U.S., France, and Russia. Adopted in 1907, the Idaho flag consists of a blue field with the state seal in the center and the state motto at the bottom. The flag uses the seal designed by Emma Edwards, a member of the DAR who won a contest to design the seal, and the blue background has its roots in the Civil War-era regimental flag standards. The flag itself was likely created by Idaho legislatures, however. The blue field was standard for state regimental flags during the 19th century and Civil War, always accompanied by the state seal. This was likely carried over into the design of the Idaho flag. The Idaho state seal consists of 2 figures on either side of a shield depicting a landscape, with wheat and 2 cornucopias below the shield and a deer's head above it. Within the seal, the woman represents liberty and the man represents mining. The shield is for protection, and the river represents the Shoshone River. The other plants and animals are either local wildlife or represent agriculture. The words Esto Perpetua mean it is forever and are the state's motto. Adopted in 1969, the Illinois flag consists of a white field with the word Illinois and is sealed of a bald eagle on a rock holding a banner. The flag was created by Lucy Derwent, having been entered into a DAR flag designing contest. Her original design has been preserved since 1915, except for the addition of the state's name. The eagle represents America, with the shield it's holding representing the 13 colonies with its 13 stars. The rock the eagle stands on has 2 dates, one for when the Illinois Constitution was signed, and one for when the Illinois seal was made. On the banner in the eagle's mouth are the words State Sovereignty, National Union, which is the state motto. Adopted in 1955, the Indiana flag consists of a torch surrounded by 19 gold stars as well as the word Indiana. The flag was created in 1916 by Paul Hadley, who won a competition held by the DAR for Indiana's centennial. It was adopted as the state banner, with the American flag being the state flag, as having a separate flag for one state was seen as secessionist during the time. Civil War was only 55 years earlier. Only in 1956 was it adopted as the official state flag alongside the American flag. There's a total of 19 stars on the flag. 13 in the outer ring represent the 13 colonies, and the 5 on the inner ring represent the 5 states admitted following the original 13. The final largest star represents Indiana itself, with the state's name in small letters being arched over it. The torch represents enlightenment and liberty, and the rays represent influence. Adopted in 1921, the Iowa flag consists of a blue, white, and red tricolor. There is a bald eagle holding a banner in the center with the word Iowa in red on the bottom. During World War I, military regiments from Iowa noticed that, unlike other states, they were sadly flagless. Thus, they requested one be made, and that request was fulfilled by Iowa DAR member Dixie Cornell Gebhard. It was adopted as the state banner, since Civil War veterans thought that having a state flag would undermine the national unity they risked their lives for. In the tricolor, the blue represents loyalty, justice, and truth. The white represents purity, and the red represents courage. The bald eagle probably just represents America, and the word Iowa is just the state's name. The banner reads, "Our liberties we prize, and our rights we will maintain," and is the state motto. Adopted in 1961, the Kansas flag consists of a blue field with the Kansas seal in the center, and a sunflower above the seal, and the word Kansas below it. The Kansas flag was designed in 1925 by Hazel Avery and was the state banner for 2 years before it was then approved as the state flag. The word Kansas was added in 1961 after people said the flag was distinguishable from others, which it is. If you take the name off of it, no one would know it was Kansas's, which is not a very good design if you have to tell people which state your flag belongs to. But alas. On the seal is a scene of 19th century activities in Kansas. There is a man with a plow representing agriculture. The steamboats represent trade, and the buffaloes are the state animal. The sun represents the east, and the 34 stars represent Kansas as the 34th state. The words ad astra per aspera, or to the stars through difficulties, are the state motto. Above the seal is the sunflower, the state flower, and below is the state's name. Adopted in 1962, the Kentucky flag consists of a blue field centering a white circle with 2 men in the middle, the name of the state on top, and 2 goldenrod branches on the bottom. Not gonna lie, I could not find any history information of this flag. Literally, the only thing that I could find about it was first adopted in 1918, but they kept changing the position of the men constantly until 1962. That's kind of it. Within the center, the 2 men stand shaking hands. One, in buckskin clothing, represents Kentuckian frontiers, while the other, a statesman, represents Kentuckian government officials. Around them are the words, "United we stand, divided we fall," which is the state motto. Above the scene are the words, "Commonwealth of Kentucky," which is just a fancy version of the state's name, and below are 2 goldenrod branches, which is the state's flower. Adopted in 2010, the Louisiana flag consists of a blue field centering a pelican and 3 chicks, with a white banner below them. Louisiana had many flags before the Civil War, generally influenced by whatever power is occupying them at the time, but it was only after the Civil War that this flag emerged. It was adopted on the state's centennial and standardized in 2010 when the legislature said that yes, you have to add the blood on the flag. The blue field represents truth and hope, and the pelican is the state bird. However, Louisiana's state bird is the brown pelican, which is not the type of pelican that is on this flag. The pelican on the flag is, however, voling herself or piercing her chest so her offspring can drink the blood, which is not a real thing that pelicans do. It's simply meant to symbolize piety and sacrifice and comes from a medieval Christian legend. The white banner at the bottom says Union, Justice, Confidence, which is the state motto. Adopted in 1909, the Maine flag consists of a blue field with the seal of Maine in the center. The design of Maine's flag probably originated from that thing I mentioned earlier about how the standard flag for a state military regiment was a blue background with the state seal. Many of Maine's regiments had this type of flag during the Civil War, and only in 1909, the legislature laid out that the flag would consist of such. There was a vote on November 5th of this year, Election Day, on whether the state should change its flag to one that was very similar to the 1909 version, which consisted of a pine tree and a star on a buff field. However, it was only 45% for and 55% against, so they did not change it. The blue field on the Maine flag matches that of the American flag. In the center is the seal of Maine, which has 2 men, a wildlife scene, 2 banners, and a star. The 2 men are farmers and sailors, respectively, representing agriculture and the sea. The moose is the state animal, and the pine tree is the state tree, as well as being a historical symbol of Maine. The star is the North Star, which is directly above the banner, and the state motto, Dirigo, or I lead. The other banner simply says Maine. Adopted in 1904, the Maryland flag consists of a combination of George Calvert, the first Lord of Baltimore's family crests. In the left canton in the bottom right corner is the crest of Calvert's father, and has 6 alternating stripes of yellow and black, with a countershade stripe running diagonally from the top left to the bottom right. In the right canton in the bottom left corner is the crest of Calvert's mother, or the Crossland family. It consists of 4 alternating quadrants of white and red, with a cross botany in the center, also counterchanged. Calvert combined 2 of these crests to create his own personal coat of arms. Despite being the coat of arms of the first proposer of the Maryland colony, he died before the charter could be granted. The flag of Maryland was only adopted after the Civil War. During the war, both parts of the flag had been used to represent Maryland soldiers. However, the Calvert crest was used to represent Union Maryland soldiers, and the Crossland crest was used to represent Confederate Maryland soldiers. After the war, the flag using both was adopted as a symbol of unity for Maryland, as well as being a nod to the first Lord of Baltimore. Both crests have very little known in terms of symbolism. Their main use was to be a distinctive family crest and not a flag, which flags generally include a lot of symbolism representing its people, but family crests could or could not. It just depends. There is a pun with the Crossland crest, however, if you can believe that. Adopted in 1971, the Massachusetts flag consists of a state seal on a white background. Very creative, I know. So again, I couldn't really find anything about how this flag was created, only the changes that were made to it over the years. So I will talk about that. The seal was created in 1885, and from 1908 to 1911, the Massachusetts flag was a white field with the state seal on the front and the pine tree on the back. As well as being a historical symbol of Maine, like I mentioned, the pine tree is also just a general symbol of New England. The flag stayed that way until 1971, when the legislature decided that the pine tree would be removed from the back. The seal consists of a blue shield with a Native American and a white star inside. Below is a banner with the state motto, and above is a raised arm with the sword. The Native American on the seal is supposed to represent Massachusetts, holding an arrow that points downward for peace. The white star represents Massachusetts as one of the 13 colonies. The motto, when translated from Latin, says, "By the sword we seek peace, but peace only under liberty." The raised arm with the sword represents this first part of the motto. Adopted in 1911, the Michigan flag consists of a blue field with the state coat of arms in the center. The first version of the flag, created in 1865, had the Michigan coat of arms on the front side and the U.S. coat of arms on the other side. However, in 1911, the U.S. coat of arms was removed, making the flag one-sided. That's kind of it for the history. The coat of arms consists of a shield flanked by an elk and a moose, with a bald eagle and a red banner above and a white banner below. Within the shield is a man raising his hand in peace, but he also holds a gun to symbolize that Michigan is ready to defend its nation if needed. The elk and moose represent the state of Michigan, while the bald eagle represents U.S. authority. The word "Tubor" within the shield means "I will defend," and represents Michigan as a former frontier. The words "E pluribus unum" on the red banner are taken from the national motto and mean "from many, one." They reference how the U.S. is made of many states but is one country. The phrase on the white banner is the state motto in Latin that says, "If you seek a pleasant peninsula, look about you."
Finally, it's time for an actually good flag.
Adopted in 2024, the Minnesota flag consists of a cyan and dark blue background, with the right side being cyan and the left side being dark blue. The dark blue portion is shaped in a simplified representation of the shape of Minnesota, and within that is a white 8-pointed star. The previous flag of Minnesota was yet again state seal on blue background. So in 2023, the state of Minnesota held a statewide flag designing contest. The final design picked was similar to the current one, except with a white, green, and cyan tricolor, where the cyan background is now, and a slightly different star. I'm not quite sure the reason why the design was changed, but it was. The dark blue portion of the flag represents the state of Minnesota and is a simplified version of the state's shape. The cyan represents water and lakes, as Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes. The star is supposedly the same one that is on the floor of the Minnesota State Capitol building and points north in reference to the state's motto, L'Étoile du Nord, or the Star of the North. Adopted in 2020, Mississippi's flag is another one of the recently updated ones, which was a good thing considering its old flag. The Mississippi flag consists of a magnolia surrounded by white stars and the state motto at the bottom. The magnolia and stars rest on a blue bar in the center of the flag, with two red bars to the left and right ends, and thin gold stripes between the blue and red. The current Mississippi flag was designed by Rocky Vaughn as part of a statewide competition to redesign the flag. Mississippi's previous flag used the Confederate battle flag as part of it, which, after the BLM protests, the state legislature finally figured out that maybe that is not a good thing. The final submission was voted on in a special election by the state's population and officially adopted in November of that year. The central piece of the flag, the magnolia flower, is the state flower and represents Mississippi being the Magnolia State. The 20 white stars represent Mississippi being the 20th state, and the yellow star at the top represents the Native Americans of the region. In God We Trust, found below the magnolia flower, was required by the legislature to be included in the flag. While the flag represents Mississippi as a state, it is also supposed to represent Mississippi moving away from its Confederate past into the future. Adopted in 1913, the Missouri flag consists of 3 even horizontal stripes in the color of red, white, and blue, with the Missouri coat of arms in the center. In 1908, the Missouri DAR set up a committee to design a flag for Missouri, since the state didn't have one. The final design was created by DAR member and wife of former Missouri Secretary of State, Marie Elizabeth Oliver. The flag was introduced to the legislature by her nephew 3 separate times before it passed, and it became official in 1913. The stripes each have a meaning. Red represents bravery, white represents purity, and blue represents justice. Within the coat of arms, the 24 white stars represent Missouri as the 24th state. The bears symbolize courage and strength and stand above a yellow banner that says, Let the welfare of the people be the supreme law, in Latin. The bears hold the state seal, which is placed in the center of the national colors, symbolizing Missouri as America's geographical center. Adopted in 1905, the Montana flag consists of a blue field with the state seal in the middle and the word Montana in yellow above the seal. This flag was a former regimental flag, first carried in the Philippines during the Spanish-American War. The flag originally said 1st Montana Infantry, USV, on top, but that was replaced with the word Montana when the flag became the state flag. The blue background comes from the flag's military origins. The seal shows a scene of a hypothetical Montana landscape. In the foreground, there is a shovel, a pick, and a plow. These are to symbolize the state's agriculture and mining sectors. In the background is a waterfall representing the Great Falls of the Missouri River. The words Oro y Plata, which mean gold and silver, also reference Montana's mining. Adopted in 1925, the Nebraska flag consists of a blue field with the state seal in the center. It was created by the Nebraska legislature after encouragement from the local DAR chapter. While the legislature was in agreement that the background would consist of national blue, they were in debate over which seal would be used, since a new one was being commissioned at the time. The legislature decided to use the old 1867 seal on the flag, and the new seal never ended up being used. Within the seal, a man with an anvil stands in the front, representing the mechanical arts. Next to the man sits wheat bundles, symbolizing agriculture, and in the background are the Rocky Mountains and a steam locomotive. Above the scene is the state motto, Equality Before the Law. Adopted in 1991, the Nevada flag consists of a blue field with a white star, sagebrush, and a yellow banner that say the words Battle Born in the left canton. This flag is Nevada's 4th flag, with the first 2 being very heavily mining themed. In 1929, a new design was chosen via contest, which was designed by Don Shellback III. The current flag is very similar to the 1929 version, being updated in 1991 and mostly just changing the star's design. The white symbolizes silver, since Nevada is the silver state. The sagebrush is for the state flower, and the words Battle Born represent how Nevada was born out of the Civil War. The word Nevada under the star is obviously the state's name. Adopted in 1931, the New Hampshire flag consists of a blue field with the state seal in the center. The New Hampshire flag is yet again based on state regimental flags from the 1790s. The first rendition of this flag was adopted in 1909, with the current version coming about in 1931. Not much was changed, only stylization, really. I'm not going to explain the blue field up to this point. You know what it means. In the center of the seal is a ship, the frigate Raleigh, which was one of the U.S. Navy's first ships. It represents New Hampshire's shipbuilding industry at the time. The piece of granite in the foreground symbolizes New Hampshire's terrain and the character of its citizens. Around the seal is a wreath and 9 stars representing New Hampshire as the 9th state, and the wreath representing New Hampshire as one of the states to ratify the Constitution. Adopted in 1896, the New Jersey flag consists of a buff field with the seal of New Jersey in the center. The New Jersey flag, while being made post-Civil War, has its origins in the Revolutionary period. Blue and buff, the main colors on the flag, were the regimental colors of New Jersey, chosen by Washington himself. The seal on the flag was also designed in 1777 by Pierre-Eugène du Cimetière. The current flag just combines these two historical elements. The colors blue and buff have no confirmed symbolism. Washington could have honestly chosen them for any reason. They were just the colors he chose, and thus they have remained. The seal of New Jersey consists of a shield with 3 plows flanked by 2 women. Above is a helmet and a horse head, and below is a blue banner. The shield with 3 plows symbolizes the agricultural sector of the state, while the 2 women stand for liberty and prosperity, respectively. One holds a liberty cap, which was often worn by patriots during the Revolutionary War, and the other holds a cornucopia. The helmet symbolizes sovereignty, and the horse head symbolizes independence, and is also the state animal. The banner at the bottom says liberty and prosperity, which is the state motto. Adopted in 1925, the New Mexico flag consists of a bright yellow field with a silla in the center. The flag was designed by Riva Mera, chosen via competition held by the local DAR chapter. The symbol in the middle, a Silla Pueblo sun symbol, or a silla, was found during an archaeological dig in the 1800s on a Silla Pueblo pot. The version on the flag is a modern interpretation of the one found on the pot. The colors of the flag, red and yellow, represent New Mexico's former occupier, Spain, or more specifically, Old Spain. The silla in the center represents the Sia tribe and incorporates their culture into the design. The sun has 4 sets of 4 rays, each one pointed in one of the 4 cardinal directions, and represents the Sia's tribe's sacred number. I would also just like to point out that the New Mexico's 1915 flag is probably one of the most hilarious flags I've ever seen. Okay, back to current flags. Adopted in 1901, the New York flag consists of, drumroll please, the state seal on a blue background. This flag was first carried by state regiments during the Revolutionary War before being adopted as a state flag. They messed around with the background colors a few times, but just settled on blue in 1901. The state seal consists of a shield in the center depicting a landscape scene, with 2 women on either side, an eagle and a globe up top and a white banner below. The shield depicts a rising sun with 2 ships on the Hudson River, representing New York's business and commerce. The women standing on either side are Liberty and Justice, respectively, with Liberty stepping on a crown and Justice blindfolded. The eagle probably represents America, but I didn't find anything about it specifically. And the banner says Excelsior, the state motto meaning ever upward. Adopted in 1991, the North Carolina flag consists of a horizontal red bar and a horizontal white bar with a vertical blue bar on the left side, and a white star and the letters NC within the blue bar. This flag was first proposed in 1885 and is pretty clearly based off the Confederate stars and bars. It was minorly changed in 1991, but is otherwise pretty much stayed the same. The layout and colors of the flags are obviously meant to be an unsubtle hint at the Confederacy. The only thing unique to the North Carolina flag is the portion within the blue bar, which has a white star and the letters NC on either side in yellow, and 2 dates on yellow banners above and below. NC obviously means North Carolina, but I couldn't find anything about the star specifically. The date on top, May 20th, 1775, represents when North Carolina declared its independence from Britain. The date on the bottom, April 12th, 1776, represents the date of the Halifax Resolves. Adopted in 1911, the North Dakota flag is surprisingly not a state seal on a blue background flag. It simply consists of a blue background with symbols arranged in the middle that look like it could be a seal, but it's not. This flag was first flown by North Dakota regiments during the Spanish-American War, however, without the words North Dakota on the bottom. In 1951, a committee was tasked with reviewing the flag and suggesting revisions to the legislature. They felt the flag could be more representative of North Dakota as an individual state, but the legislature rejected all of their proposals. I don't know what the point of that whole thing was then, but that was 70 years ago at this point, so I suppose it's in the past. The blue has no symbolism and is just kind of the standard at the time. The eagle, holding an olive branch and a bundle of arrows, is the same as on the national seal and probably just represents America. The shield it's holding has 13 stripes for the 13 colonies, and the eagle holds a banner that says E pluribus unum. The words North Dakota on the bottom are simply meant to distinguish the flag from other similar ones. Adopted in 1902, the Ohio flag comes in the swallowtail burgee shape and consists of a blue triangle on the left with 5 alternating red and white stripes on the right and a red circle ringed with white and stars inside the blue. The flag was designed in 1901 by John Eisenman, who was commissioned to build Ohio's building for the 1901 Pan American Exposition. He wanted to fly Ohio's flag on his building, but noticed there wasn't one, so he created one himself. It was adopted by the legislature the next year. The symbols on the flag mean, in Eisenman's own words, the triangle shapes stand for Ohio's mountains and valleys, while the stripes stand for Ohio's rivers and roads. There are 17 stars for Ohio as the 17th state, and an O shape. The O symbolizes the Northwest Territory, which includes Ohio, as well as a Buckeye for the Buckeye State, and is also just, O for Ohio. Adopted in 1941, the Oklahoma flag consists of a light blue field with a buffalo hide shield, an olive branch, and a calumet in the center, as well as the word Oklahoma on the bottom. In 1924, the DAR of Oklahoma held a statewide contest to design a new flag for Oklahoma. Oklahoma actually already had a flag, but the background which was red, which was too communist for the DAR. The winning submission, adopted in 1925, was designed by Louis Funk Fluke, with the flag being unchanged since then except for the addition of the word Oklahoma in 1941. The light blue field pays tribute to the flag carried during the Civil War by Choctaw soldiers, as well as symbolizing devotion. In the center is a buffalo hide shield, which is the kind carried by Osage warriors and represents protective warfare. Crossed over the shield is an olive branch and a calumet, symbols of peace for both European and certain Native American cultures. The crosses on the shield simply represent stars. Adopted in 1925, the Oregon flag consists of a blue field with the state seal, year of statehood, and name of the state on the front, and a beaver on a log on the back. Oregon is the only state flag to currently be double-sided. There were ones in the past that had 2 sides, but due to the expense of making them, usually the reverse side was dropped. The Oregon flag was created in 1925 at the request of Portland's postmaster, which was based on the 1800s state regimental flag. In 2008, the news site OregonNews.org held a contest to design a new flag for the state. However, the citizens of Oregon were generally disinterested in changing the flags, so it's remained unchanged. The blue and gold of the flag actually represent the state of Oregon's official colors, as well as blue simply doing it's the regiment thing. The beaver on the back is Oregon's state animal. The seal on the front depicts 3 different scenes: mountains with elk and a wagon, representing the setting of Oregon and the Oregon Trail, a plow and a pick, symbolizing the economic sectors of the state, and a British ship leaving as an American ship arrives, symbolizing how Oregon was never fully occupied by a foreign power before America. On the outer rim of the seal are 33 stars, since Oregon is the 33rd state. The words State of Oregon are obviously the state's name, and the year 1859 is the year of statehood. Adopted in 1907, the Pennsylvania flag consists of a blue field with its coat of arms in the center. This flag has been around in some variations since 1799, but it was standardized in 1907. The coat of arms on the flag was designed by Caleb Lones in 1788 and was standardized in 1874. While this coat of arms is not Pennsylvania's first, it is the current one. The blue field is the same blue as on the American flag, and the coat of arms of Pennsylvania consists of a shield in the center, flanked by 2 horses, with an eagle atop and a red banner, as well as a corn and olive branch below. Within the shield is a ship symbolizing exports, a plow symbolizing agriculture, and 3 bundles of wheat, also symbolizing agriculture. The horses represent both agriculture and transportation. The eagle symbolizes the union as well as freedom. The corn represents fertility, and the olive represents peace. The red banner at the bottom says virtue, liberty, and independence, and is the state motto. Adopted in 1897, the Rhode Island flag consists of a white field with a yellow anchor in the center, surrounded by 13 yellow stars, and with a blue banner saying "Hope" below. The current flag was adopted by the legislature in 1897, but it wasn't very different from the two previous versions of the flag, and that is basically all of the history that I can find about this flag. The anchor likely references Rhode Island's maritime culture and history, as well as being a traditional symbol of hope. The 13 stars stand for the 13 colonies, and possibly Rhode Island being the 13th state. The word hope is just the state motto. Adopted in 1909, the South Carolina flag consists of a blue field with a palmetto tree in the center and a crescent in the left canton. The South Carolina flag first arose during the Revolutionary War, being created by Colonel William Moultrie in 1775. It started off with only being an upward-facing crescent in the word liberty inside of it, in the same white and blue color scheme. Later, the palmetto was added to pay homage to the battle on Sullivan's Island. During the Civil War, the flag was modified so that the word liberty no longer appeared, and the crescent was facing left. During 1909, when trying to figure out if the crescent should face upwards like originally intended or leftwards like in the Civil War, it was decided that the crescent would be at a 45-degree angle northwest. Most of South Carolina's flag symbolism is speculative, since Moultrie didn't specify what the stuff on the flag meant. The easiest to guess is the palmetto tree, since it was added after the battle at Fort Johnson due to the use of palmetto logs in the fortifications. Also, South Carolina is the palmetto state. The blue field might reference the blue of the South Carolinians' uniforms, or it could be a reference to the indigo dye exports of the state. The crescent is the hardest to figure out, however. It could be a moon or a gorge, or it could reference the crescents on the soldiers' uniforms. However, my personal favorite explanation is that the crescent comes from heraldry, where crescents symbolize hope for future prosperity, or something that is up and coming, like America during the Revolution. Adopted in 1922, the South Dakota flag consists of a cyan field with the state seal and sun rays in the center, surrounded by the words South Dakota and the Mount Rushmore state. The first version of this flag was created by Ida Anding McNeil in 1909 at the request of a South Dakota senator and state historian. It had a yellow sun on the front with the seal on the back, and instead of saying the Mount Rushmore state, it said the Sunshine State. Because it was expensive to produce a double-sided flag, the seal was moved to inside the sun on the front in 1963. Finally, the state nickname was changed from the Sunshine State to the Mount Rushmore State in 1992, and thus the flag changed accordingly. However, all old flags remain official under South Dakota law. The sun in the center of the flag represents South Dakota being formerly the Sunshine State. The words South Dakota and the Mount Rushmore State obviously are the state's name in the current nickname. The seal depicts a scene of a farmer plowing his fields in the foreground, and a river and a mountain, as well as a steamboat in the background. The exact symbolism of the seal is unknown, but is generally accepted to represent the state's agricultural and mining industries. The banner within the seal says, "Under God the people rule," and is the state motto. Adopted in 1905, the Tennessee flag consists of a crimson background with a blue circle containing 3 white stars in the center, with a blue bar on the right side of the flag and thin white borders separating the red and blue. Captain Leroy Reeves designed this flag while part of the Tennessee National Guard. Tennessee had a flag before this, but this version was picked out of a handful of new ones being considered. Thankfully, this flag was chosen instead of a modified stars and bars that was also proposed for the new flag. The 3 stars of the Tennessee flag famously stand for the 3 subdivisions of the state, west, middle, and east. They sit within the blue circle to show that they all exist as one unified state, and none align with the center of the flag to show that none is greater than the others. The blue bar on the right side is so that when the flag hangs limp, all of the colors can be seen. Similarly, the white borders are added just for visual distinctiveness. Adopted in 1933, the Texas flag consists of a white and red horizontal bars, each taking up half the height of the flag, with a blue vertical bar on the left and a single white star in the middle of it. This flag, known as the Lone Star flag, was the flag of the Republic of Texas during the 1800s. It was proposed as the Texan flag by Senator Wharton in 1838 and adopted during 1839, while Texas was still a republic. While Wharton proposed it, it is unknown who actually designed the flag. This flag has remained official even after annexation in 1879 and then became the state flag again in 1933. The hues on the flag are supposed to match those of the American flag and represent blue for loyalty, white for purity, and red for bravery. The star was on the Republic of Texas's first flag after their independence from Mexico and has simply stuck since then. Adopted in 2024, the Utah flag consists of a blue, white, and red stripe which make up an abstract mountain landscape, and a blue hexagon containing a beehive in the center of the flag. The old Utah flag, adopted 113 years ago, consisted of the Utah seal on a blue background, but wanting to change the flag to be more original and representative of the state today, an initiative was started in 2021 to create a new flag. It was created in 2023, drawing inspiration from flag experts, the public, and the old flag. The new Utah flag was officially adopted in March of this year. The red, white, and blue colors reference the American flag, as well as each having their own meanings. The blue symbolizes Utah's water and skies, as well as knowledge. The white symbolizes Utah's snow and mountains, as well as peace. The red symbolizes Utah's canyons and also perseverance. The hexagon represents unity and strength, as well as referencing the beehive. The gold rim symbolizes prosperity, and the beehive represents community and industry and is also a symbol of Mormonism. The singular star below the beehive stands for Utah's statehood. Adopted in 1923, the Vermont flag consists of a blue field with the Vermont coat of arms in the center. While Vermont did have other flags before this, including variations of the American flag, this one was based off the Civil War era regimental flags of the state. That's kind of it for the history. The blue is the regiment thing we all know. Within the Vermont coat of arms is the scene of a pine tree with a cow and 3 bundles of wheat under it and mountains in the background. Above the scene is a head of a deer and surrounding it a gold border with some sort of leafage and a red banner below it. The pine tree represents Vermont being part of New England, and the mountains are likely the Green Mountains. The deer head represents Vermont's wildlife, while the cow and bundles of wheat represent Vermont's agriculture. The red banner at the bottom says Freedom and Unity, and also Vermont, which is the state motto and the state name. Adopted in 1861, the Virginia flag consists of a blue field and the front of the state seal in the center. The flag was created at the beginning of the Civil War, right after Virginia had seceded. The seal itself was created in 1776 by George Mason and others. While the seal's imagery and symbolism have been updated since 1861, the main design of the flag has stayed the same. The front of the seal of Virginia consists of a woman with a spear standing over a man with a crown, surrounded by red flowers in the word Virginia and Sic Semper Tyrannis at the top and bottom. The woman, Virtus, represents Virginia, while the man represents Britain. The woman stands over the man with a spear, while the man holds a whip and a crown has fallen off of his head. This is meant to symbolize Virginia's victory over Britain's tyranny. The word Virginia is the state name, obviously, and Sic Semper Tyrannis means thus always to tyrants. Adopted in 1923, the Washington state flag consists of a green field with the state seal in the center. The seal was created by Charles Talcott and his 2 brothers in 1889. Towns in Washington often flew unofficial flags before an official one was created, usually including George Washington's face on them. This was carried into the official flag's design, which was created by the legislature in 1923. The symbolism of the flag is mostly speculated on, so most of what I say is going to be what they likely mean. The green field probably references George Washington as the Evergreen State. The seal consists of the face of George Washington on a blue background, with the words, "The Seal of the State of Washington, 1889, around it. Washington's face probably is because it's Washington State. Let's be honest. The year 1889 was the year that Washington State entered the Union, and the year that the seal was created. The blue and gold color scheme probably references the blue and gold flags that were flown unofficially before the state had an official flag. Adopted in 1929, the flag of West Virginia consists of a white field with the state coat of arms in the center and a blue border around the flag. West Virginia has had many flags before this one, generally some version of state seal on blue background and double-sided. However, in order to cut costs and make the flag more unique, the West Virginia legislature decided to create this flag. It was first created in 1913 and then modified in 1929 and has been the same since. The white background represents freedom and purity, and the blue border represents the Union. I didn't find any specific symbolism for the coat of arms, but it was based on the West Virginia seal, so I'll use the seal symbolism. The coat of arms consists of a scene of two men leaning on a rock, with guns and a liberty cap in front of them, and a gold border surrounded by rhododendrons and two red banners above and below. The two men are a farmer and miner, respectively, symbolizing agriculture and industry. The rock in the center symbolizes strength, and the guns and liberty cap symbolize West Virginia's dedication to protecting freedom. Rhododendrons are the state flower, and the upper banner says, State of West Virginia, while the lower banner says, Mountaineers are always free, in Latin, and is the state motto. Adopted in 1979, the Wisconsin flag consists of the state seal on a blue background. I can't believe it. Although this has the words Wisconsin and 1889 on it, so I suppose it's a little different from the others, it's still the same. This flag, like many others, emerged post-Civil War, originally being created in 1913. At the time, it didn't have the words Wisconsin or 1889, which were added in 1979. This flag has largely stayed the same otherwise, with only a few visual tweaks to it. The blue field stands for wisdom and truth, also the regiment thing. Although I never saw anything about this flag being a regimental flag originally, it probably is. Within the seal, in the center, are two men, a golden shield between them containing symbols of the state's major industries, a white banner with the word forward above, and a cornucopia and 13 lead ingots below. The two men are a sailor and yeoman, respectively, which were the major occupations of the state at the time. In the shield are symbols of the state's four major industries: agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and navigation. In the very center of the shield is another shield, which symbolizes the U.S. as well as the national motto. Above the gold shield is the state animal, a badger, as well as the state motto, forward. Below the gold shield is a cornucopia representing prosperity and 13 lead ingots representing mineral wealth in the 13 colonies. Adopted in 1917, the Wyoming flag consists of a blue background with a white leftward-facing bison and the state seal in the center, a border of an inner white stripe and an outer red stripe. The Wyoming DAR chapter decided to hold a flag designing contest so that Wyoming had a flag in time for World War I. The winner of the contest was Verna Keyes, and her original design had the bison facing outwards for freedom. However, at the insistence of the DAR chapter leader, Dr. Grace Raymond Hebbard, the bison was changed to face inward and has remained that way via tradition. The red, white, and blue are supposed to be the same hues as the American flag and represent Native Americans and the blood of pioneers, the sky and fidelity and justice, and purity, respectively. The bison is a common animal in the area and is nicknamed the Monarch of the Plains. Inside the bison is the state seal, which consists of two men on either side of a marble statue with pillars, with banners wrapping around the pillars and two lamps on top of the pillars. One man is seemingly a rancher, while the other is a miner, for agriculture and mining, respectively. The lamps represent knowledge, while the words equal rights reference how Wyoming never barred women from voting. The other words, oil, mines, livestock, and grain, are the four major industries of Wyoming. As we have seen, every state flag has a unique history and look to it. Even so, there's a large number of similarities to be had between them. I'll just put them on the screen right here for a sec. I think it's so interesting how the design of these flags are deeply entwined with history. Many of the former regimental flags come from states that fought on the side of the Union during the Civil War, while a lot of the current flags of southern states reference the Confederacy. Likewise, flags in New England are more likely to have colonial origins, while flags referencing mining are more likely to belong to states in the West. Flags like Texas and California remain as a remnant of long-gone countries. Most seals depict life in a time when states were first being created, and all of this just kind of shows how much the past is carried on in things that we don't even notice. However, many states are starting to replace their flags. While the designs aren't often historically tied, they're often better designed and more representative of their state. Something I've noticed about certain flags is that they rely very heavily on national symbolism, but have very little to say about what makes that state unique. Part of this might be a holdover from the post-Civil War era, when having a state flag that was too individual might have been seen as secessionist. But a lot of the best flags are the ones that are unique to their state, like New Mexico, Texas, South Carolina, and Maryland. Those states who are still holding on to their old flags might do well to consider a change, but like it was in the case for Oregon, it's ultimately up to the people of the state to decide if the flag that they have represents them or not. If they don't want to change their flag, they shouldn't have to. After all, the most important thing about a flag is the people that it represents identify with it and are proud to fly it.